Fear is excitement without the breath. Excitement is fear with breath. Hi, I'm Nick, former medical doctor turned soul doctor, and I've healed from my lifelong asthma and suicidal depression. And I wanted to chat more about breath today, especially in relationship to excitement and fear. There's so much going on in the external world right now. It's actually an eclipse day. There's a war going on. I'm here in Canada, so there's sanctions, there's tariffs, there's all these things happening. There's a trade war, supposedly. We're at huge deficit, crisis in the financial sectors. There's forest fires raging around. There's lots of uncertainty, housing prices all over the place. And yet, in the midst of all of this, what may seem like chaos and fear, I think that with breath, it's just excitement. And it's funny because there's a super loud train passing by. I don't know if you hear it, but there's just so much noise. AI, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, all these things. And what has me working with breath right now, breath work, Ohana breath, is that I'm bringing breath back into my life over and over again. And I'm bringing breath back into the lives of those I love most as well. I'm so grateful that I have many close friends and family who join the Ohana breath regularly. It warms my heart to have the privilege to do that kind of work. And I want to use this as a reminder. This line I got, excitement is fear with the breath, I think it was from Joe Hudson's, where I heard it from. And it really reminded me, when I'm truly scared, I'm holding my breath. When I can remember to breathe again, things start to move, things start to soften again. And how do I do that more frequently, more quickly, be able to shift states more rapidly? Because in this time, and this is a cycle, I believe, having read some books like The Fourth Turning, this is a cycle of crisis or chaos. And the message I got during one of my breath sessions was embrace crisis, embrace chaos. Things are going to go off the rails in the way that I'm used to seeing. They only felt on the rails because it has been part of the, I'm going to say, the programming, the schooling, the teaching, the whatever you want to call it, that there is an order to things. Oh, I can retire by this age. I have these RSPs. These are the social safety nets. This is how medicine works. This is how the world works. And it only takes traveling to a completely unrelated country for me to realize how different the world is. Here, you see a price tag, you pay a price tag. Over in Southeast Asia, you see a price tag, if you see one, and you realize that that is just a suggestion. That's the beginning point. And I love the idea, if you go to the Middle East, it's like, whoa, hold on now. Not only is that the beginning point, but we actually need to negotiate some. This is part of the fun of it all. This is part of the work of it all. I can't get to a certain place too quickly. And as a reminder, here we're always looking at speed, efficiency, scaling. How do I have all these things? And in many other places, that's just not the way. And over again, it comes back down to, how do I actually want to live this life? I've wondered before why I'm actually doing what I'm doing with all the different kinds of education that I have. Not only have I spent all that extra post-secondary time studying medicine, I've also done courses in cryptocurrencies, courses in options trading. I've worked for pharmaceutical companies, tech companies. I've seen all these different ways, and I keep thinking to myself, there's so many easy ways to make money. And yes, I am part of some of those things to generate wealth, and I'm always learning more about money and speaking about money. I loved, there was a recent Instagram post about how that's the highest level of conversation when you're talking about money, because there's a certain layer of trust that you have when you're talking with someone about money directly, honestly, openly, transparently. And now I'm bringing it back to the breath. Can you actually be with your breath through all this stuff? And I recognize it's so important, especially one of the other things I focus on is family. When you're with your family, how often do you hold your breath? And how would that actually serve to breathe? Oh my God. And I've had the privilege of actually breathing several families, including members of my own family, to bring them closer together, to bring them coherence, to bring them insights, to bring them visions, to bring them this collective wisdom that happens. And I really want to thank some of my brothers and sisters. These are my soul brothers and sisters that have reminded me how important family is. It was so easy for a while to be like, oh, family's just distracting me, rather than my family is an extension of me. And if I really want to learn more about myself in a really rapid way, I spend time with my folks, I spend time with my in-laws, I spend time with close family, because they show me, they're a mirror for me. And the breath is our own mirror. Our breath is reminding us where our current state is. And it doesn't matter what's going on outside. That's why one of our favorite books is Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl, in the middle of concentration camp, Auschwitz, being able to find a center again, being able to see those who had lost their center and they were going to die. It's like they had lost all sense of hope, they're going to die, and they died soon. Those who actually had something, there was some substance, some life force that's there. And this is what we're doing. We're charging up the prana, charging up the chi, charging up the life force again. And it is outside of the Western way of thinking, if I just accumulate enough of it, then I can bank enough and do whatever the fuck I want. No, it's a practice. It's a lifelong practice. And yet the practices do not define you either. It's not like I can say, oh, I've got 8 hours of practice every day, therefore I'm better than you. And the funny thing is I have done breath work for 4 hours, 8 hours at a time, even before, especially when I'm truly sick. When I've got a fever, when I'm coughing up gunk, I will dive into that breath work, dive in the fever under the sheets, really drive it up and work on clearing, on healing. And then those days that I feel like I'm flowing and I forget and then eventually get kinked up again, I'm like, why? And so now, ever since I worked with Bob Frizzell, who unfortunately and fortunately in his own way has passed away this year, I only worked with him starting last year, has reminded me, I've been doing breath every single day for myself. And I'm coming back to breathwork. I'm even journeying with breathwork in Egypt this December to remember who I truly am. And that's what I think is part of the power of the breath. It's to remember who we truly are. And when we remember who we truly are, the real gifts, the real awakenings, the real cities can come alive. Because I can only imagine what it's like to have 8 billion people fully conscious, fully alive, fully wanting to participate in life, and what that makes possible. And right now, with all this crisis, it's stirring it up. I can no longer just sit comfortably and think, I can do this. I can no longer just depend on a paycheck. And I thought about that for a while. If I had actually been working the same way I'd been working before for the past, even decades since I got that 6-figure job, I'd probably have at least a few $1 million more, especially if they're invested. Cool. So what? So as to what? Right now, I'm living life the way I really want to. I've got a 5.5-year-old. I've got a wife. I've got a cat who's just like a dog who's sleeping next to me. He's hilarious, by the way. I'm going to show you that. Boom. He's the best. And everyone who meets him is like, oh my God, that cat is just like a dog. And I was really specific. I was like, I want a cat who's like a dog. I don't want to earn his affection. I don't want to try to find him. I don't want to be anxious all the time. So he's sleeping on me. He's being with me. He's amazing. And it's the same thing with the breath. Transforming the fear into excitement and noticing when the excitement has turned back to fear. And that happens often for me. One of the things I'm learning about is that procrastination, that avoidance, is really just fear in another way. I'm fear of the future. I'm fear of the worst possible outcome. So I'm going to avoid making any decision, making any choices, because if I do, somehow it's going to be the worst possible thing. So better not to do anything at all and just avoid it. And I'm doing that in lots of areas of my lifestyle. I am an imperfect being going through this process. And I'm more willing to say it now because I have enough stuff stacked behind me of evidence of where I've come. And so I don't have to prove myself in the same way. And I can notice when I'm proving myself. And I'm like, let's just bring the breath back to it. So I'm going to be focusing more on videos that pertain to the breath. I'm going to be talking about it differently. Most people would expect me, because of my medical knowledge, to talk about this from the physiological perspective all the time. I will probably do only a little bit of that. Only a little bit of that. Because the breath for me has not been a physiological thing in the same sense. There are parts that I think I understand what's going on. Okay, oxygen, carbon dioxide, building it up, pushing it down, getting tetany, changing the acid-base structure. There's that biochemistry. That's what I was taught in medicine. Now I'm learning more about the biophysics of it all. Why is it that we have to be like this? Why do we have to have lungs breathing in and out? What is the point of the cycles? What is the point of the cycles reminding us? What is the in? What is the out for? Inspiration, relaxation. Oh, there's so many more things there. Why do we not have a different breathing structure? Maybe we can actually even consider that sometimes. And then what is it that allows for this to create so many out-of-body experiences, expanded states of consciousness? And those are some things I'll talk about too. My reminder, it brought me back to my connection with my brother who's passed away. All these different things happen with breath work. And they happen to help remind me there's so much power to this modality, and it's just a modality. It's not life. So, fear is excitement without the breath. Excitement is fear with breath. I invite you to breathe with yourself. Notice when you're holding your breath. Notice when you're stuck in fear. Notice how it can transform you. And if you're having trouble accessing it, there are so many practitioners out there you can meet in person. There's my own Ohana breath you can meet online. And then if you really want to dive in deep, you can always reach out for a private session, or join us in Egypt, or come for a full psychedelic ceremony. There's so many possibilities. Just remember, the options are endless. What are you willing to step through? And if you found your way to this video, obviously you're wanting to get somewhere. If you've gotten to this point in this video, you're obviously wanting to get somewhere. You're probably wondering, how did he heal from his asthma? Oh my God, I've got all these mental health things. Oh my God, I've got these major decisions. ... I love that. What are the big things in life? What's in the way? What are we trying to shift? All that comes back to remembering who you truly are. And who you truly are is not something that's measured on an Excel spreadsheet, is not defined by your taxes, is not defined by your letters or your roles or all those other things. It's beyond all that, and it encompasses all that. A lot of love. Ciao for now.